Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In case you're new here, my name is Laura and I'm a PhD student of Comparative Literature in Germany. And this is a video of my series on Gothic and Romantic literature. And I want to introduce 10 very famous Gothic classic literature pieces to you. They are short stories, novellas and novels. And I thought that there might be some recommendations that you haven't heard of before or that you haven't delved into. So I just give a quick summary and a few words about the themes and the genre and what you can expect of them, and also when they have been published and who the author is. So maybe you can take something away from that and find a recommendation that you really want to delve into right now as well. So I take this video as an invitation, if you haven't explored one or two of these stories, to just take the time this autumn to read them. I hope you enjoyed the video. The first novel I want to recommend to you is called The Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole, published in 1764. It's been considered one of the most influential works of Gothic literature and also the first Gothic fiction novel. So 1764 can be seen as like the marking point of the beginning of the genre of Gothic fiction. The Castle of Otranto is considered the first Gothic novel. It's blending elements of horror, romance, and the supernatural. And it is about the following. It is set in a medieval castle filled with dark secrets and supernatural occurrences. For example, in the beginning, the son of the protagonist is killed by a mysterious giant helmet of a knight, which just happens to fall upon his head and kill him immediately. So the plot of the story is about Prince Manfred, the father of this guy, whose desperate actions to secure his family's future after the death of his son lead to a series of eerie and tragic events. Walpole's novel laid the foundation for the Gothic literary tradition, as I said, and it shows that there is a strong focus on mysterious settings, ghostly apparitions, and a sense of impending doom. And especially the setting of a castle is very, very typical, as you will see also in some other recommendations that will follow in this video. I'm going to make a video on the Castle of Otranto in the future, so if you're interested in that, please stay tuned. There are also quite a few funny facts that I want to talk about in this future video that people don't tend to know because it's not so widely known. So if you're interested, please wait for the video that is going to come up in one of the following weeks. The second novel I want to talk about is The Mysteries of Udolpho from 1794, written by a woman called Anne Radcliffe. And it is a quintessential Gothic romance novel that follows the young and orphaned Emily St. Aubert as she navigates a world filled with mystery, terror and intrigue. And the novel is set against the backdrop of the imposing Udolpho castle as well, where Emily encounters sinister figures, dark secrets and seemingly supernatural events. And Annette Radcliffe herself is known for her vivid descriptions of nature and her ability to create suspense and tension, making this novel a cornerstone of Gothic fiction. And I think that sounds really compelling, and a reason I want to read the novel is also that I haven't read so many women writers in the Gothic sphere, and it is one of the most influential novels. And Radcliffe has written quite a few novels, but The Mysteries of Udolpho is her most famous one, so that's what I want to start with. The next novel I want to talk about is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, published in 1817. I have been talking about this novel on this channel already last year, and I will link the video here and below in the description of the video. So if you're interested in that, I will link it below. Northanger Abbey is a satirical novel that parodies the conventions of Gothic fiction, particularly the works of Anne Radcliffe, or so it is said. The story follows Catherine Morland, a young and naive heroine who becomes obsessed with Gothic novels and begins to imagine her life in similar terms. And when she visits the eponymous Northanger Abbey, she lets her imagination run wild, leading to humorous misunderstandings as she thinks people have meant and said different things than they actually did. So that's really humorous and funny. And she imagines herself to be inside of a Gothic novel in real life in a way. Jane Austen seems to use this novel to critique the sensationalism of Gothic literature and also explores themes of romance and social manners, as she does in all of her novels. But I think it's actually the funniest novel she has written. I also liked Emma a lot. Many people also love Pride and Prejudice and Sense and Sensibility. And many also love Persuasion, but I haven't read that yet. So if you're looking for some kind of a Gothic satire that is a little bit different of the usual Gothic novels you would have, with the eerie, mysterious atmosphere, the castles still have quite a few elements, then it makes sense to read this novel. The next recommendation I want to make is one of the most famous Gothic novels. It is Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley and published in 1818. It is called, with its full title, Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus, and it is a pioneering work of science fiction and Gothic horror. So both of these genres tend to start around that time in the early 19th century. It is about Victor Frankenstein, a scientist who creates a living being by reanimating dead tissue, only to be horrified by the monstrous creature he has brought to life and trying to come to terms with that. And then, as the monster is coming to life, the monster of Frankenstein, it also begins a life of its own and has its own wishes and ideas and ways it wants to live its life. So that clashes with the ideas that Victor Frankenstein had for this monster. So themes of ambition, hybris, and the consequences of playing God by creating a human from dead body parts are central to the novel. Mary Shelley's creation has therefore become a cultural icon, with the creature often mistakenly referred to as Frankenstein himself. So Frankenstein is actually Victor Frankenstein and not the monster. So this novel is definitely absolutely well written, and it's very suspenseful, so I would definitely recommend reading it, not only watching movies or series about it, if you're interested in that. My recommendation number 5 is also quite famous. It is not a novel but a short story written by none other than Edgar Allan Poe. It is The Fall of the House of Usher, published in 1845, and it is considered one of the classic Gothic short stories. It delves into the themes of madness, decay, and the supernatural. And the story is narrated by a visitor to the decaying mansion of his childhood friend, Roderick Usher, who is afflicted by mysterious ailments. As the tale unfolds, the eerie atmosphere intensifies, culminating in a tragic and supernatural ending. Poe's masterful use of symbolism and mood has made this story a staple of Gothic literature. I loved reading it, and I want to reread it this autumn, and I also watched one of the movies that have been made of the short story, and I was really terrified. So I think the story still has got a lot to give, even after more than 170 years since it's been published, and we've been used to so many different kinds of terror and horror stories. So that's definitely worth exploring, especially if you're looking for something shorter than a novel. Novel number 6 is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, published in 1859. I've been talking about this novel on this channel already as well. I will also link this one up here and below in the description of the video. The Woman in White is a pioneering work of sensation fiction. It's even been considered as the first sensation novel, which is quite new and quite interesting in this whole Gothic genre. It's blending elements of mystery, Gothic, and psychological thriller. And the novel follows art teacher Walter Hartwright, who becomes entangled in a complex web of secrets and deception after encountering a mysterious woman dressed completely in white. The story is known for its intricate plot and memorable characters, and its exploration of themes such as identity, madness, and social justice. And Wilkie Collins' innovative narrative structure, which includes multiple perspectives, has influenced many subsequent detective and mystery novels, and especially for its narrative and for its characters, this novel is definitely worth a read. It is also very suspenseful and really keeps you at the edge of your seat. So if you're looking for a novel that is a little more modern, then you should go for this one. The next recommendation is a novella, which is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, published in 1886. You probably heard about the story, but I will just quickly summarize it again. It is about Dr. Henry Jekyll, a respected scientist, same as with Frankenstein, who creates a potion that transforms him into the malevolent Mr. Edward Hyde. The story examines the struggle between good and evil within a single person and the consequences of giving in to one's darker impulses. And the character of Jekyll and Hyde has since become synonymous with split personalities or duality in popular culture. And it has been referred to and adapted in so many ways that it's definitely had a very big influence on culture, and especially on Gothic culture. So it's definitely worth a read as well. It's also very well written, and I can just recommend it to you. It's also a Scottish writer, so it's Scottish Gothic fiction, and it's a little bit different from the many British novels that you would read from England. So it's definitely also quite a thing to consider if you want to read a little bit more diverse. Novel number 8 is Dracula by Bram Stoker, published in 1897. Which is one of the Gothic novels that you probably also know, or at least you know the story of Dracula, you know Dracula as a figure. It is a seminal Gothic horror novel that introduces the iconic character of Count Dracula, a centuries-old vampire from Transylvania. The novel is presented in an epistolary format, told through letters, diary entries, and newspaper clippings, which adds to the suspense. The story follows Jonathan Harker and a group of people who band together to defeat Dracula as he attempts to spread his vampire curse to England. Stoker's work has had a profound influence on the portrayal of vampires in literature and popular culture, as you can imagine, because vampires have been growing so much more popular in the 20th century, and Dracula definitely had a big influence on that. So if you're looking to read that novel, I would definitely recommend it, because it is very interesting and also quite amusing. Recommendation number 9 is one of my favorite stories. It is The Turn of the Screw by Henry James, published in 1898. It is a psychological horror novella that tells the story of a young governess who is hired to care for 2 children at a remote estate. As she becomes convinced that the estate is haunted by malevolent spirits, the line between reality and imagination blurs, leading to a suspenseful and ambiguous narrative. The novella is notable for its exploration of the unreliable narrator and its ability to evoke a sense of dread and uncertainty. And it has also been made into movies and series, such as The Haunting of Bly Manor on Netflix, if you know that. It's been changed a lot, but it's still keeping the mystery and suspense of the story. And it's very, very well written, and it's also very popular among literary scholars, which I will talk about in another video in the future. So if you're talking about narrative techniques and what you can believe the author or not, or whether the ghosts are real or imagined, and such things, such troubles, such questions, they have been discussed widely in literary theory, and I will talk about that in another video in the future. The last novel I want to recommend is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, published in 1938. So it's the last one and final one on this list. It is definitely not the last Gothic novel that has ever been written. People still keep writing Gothic novels, but it is one of the most influential modern Gothic classics. So it is about a young unnamed woman who also narrates the story, who marries a wealthy widower called Maxim de Winter, and she moves to his grand estate by the coast called Manderley, where she struggles with the lingering presence and influence of Rebecca, who is Maxim's first wife, whose memory seems to haunt every aspect of life at Manderley. So Rebecca cannot really go about anything, single thing in her day without being reminded that Rebecca has been living in that estate, and she has also been ruling that estate, and everybody's thinking very highly of her, and you don't really know what's the secret and why she has even died and what has been happening. And also the figure of Maxim de Winter, of her husband, is also very secretive and complex. So you really just discover all the secrets of the novel throughout reading it, and that is quite interesting, and it makes the reading worthwhile a lot. So please go read that if you're interested. And also watch the movie that has been published on Netflix a few years ago, because that is very, very good. So these have been my 10 recommendations and ideas for Gothic novels, novellas and short stories to read, especially this autumn and winter, as the Halloween season is coming around quicker than we think. And I would love to read your comments below, what kinds of novels you have read before, what you want to read this autumn maybe, what you haven't heard of, or what you would recommend to other readers to delve into. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to the channel, and also hit the bell if you want to be notified when there's a new video coming up. Thank you and bye bye.